Welcome to Musing on the Bawd. I'm your host, Sally McLean. On today's episode, we welcome the fabulous Edinburgh-based actor Danielle Farrow. Danielle is an award-winning, classically trained actor with extensive experience across stage, screen, and audio. Danielle's enduring love of Shakespeare has led to a wide range of roles, including Juliet, Shylock, Viola, Oberon, Lysander, Prospero, and the Bawd from Pericles, and her one-person show, inVocation, a Shakespearean Horror, which premiered at the Edinburgh Horror Festival. Danielle has worked in immersive theatre, commedia dell'arte, devised productions, and new writing. Notable stage credits include The Last Days of Mankind at Leith Theatre with the Tiger Lillies, I Promise I Shall Not Play Billiards for Tightlaced Theatre, as well as Lady Macbeth in I'm a Shakespearean Character, Get Me Out of Here, touring across Italy and Scotland. Danielle's screen work includes the award-winning The Tale of Two Sisters and critically acclaimed The Show Must Go Online. She has narrated audiobooks for HarperCollins and Geddes and Grosset, as well as for the RNIB. With a background in philosophy, theatrical training, and cross-disciplinary performance, Danielle is also a Shakespeare coach, speaker, and consultant. Shakespeare Republic audiences will remember Danielle from her wonderful work as Henry IV in Shakespeare Republic, All the Webs Are Stage, The Lockdown Chronicles, a performance that was awarded alongside the rest of our amazing cast for that season with Best Ensemble International Narrative at the 2021 New Zealand Webfest, Best Ensemble Cast Drama at the 2021 British Web Awards, Best Ensemble Performance at the 2022 London Webfest in the UK, and nominated for Best Ensemble Performance in a Drama at the 2022 International Academy of Web Television Awards in the USA. So sit back, relax, and join us in this thought-provoking conversation about Shakespeare, acting, and more with today's guest, Danielle Farrow.
Performing Shakespeare has driven what is probably the most important aspect of my journey as an actor. I started from quite an intellectual approach, and acting Shakespeare challenged me and trained me to connect brain work to really working with my full body, guts, and heart. It also got me through lockdown, working with you, an incredible Shakespearean half a world away, and other Shakespeare performers around the globe, through The Show Must Go Online and fundraisers for theatres, and readings that continue now to this day with people other ends of the world again. And then there's the passion and the confidence, which is brilliant. As well as being a Shakespeare performer, I can now call myself an acting Shakespeare CSC, coach, speaker, and consultant. And know that I truly help others to understand and be inspired by and work with his incredible words.
That is wonderful. Danielle Farrow, welcome to Musing on the Bawd. It is so lovely to have you here.
Oh, it is brilliant to be here. Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm loving that introduction about Shakespeare and how it's working with Shakespeare's works have impacted you. That's fantastic. I'm going to kind of backtrack slightly. And the first thing I wanted to have a chat with you about was your acting, by asking what was it that motivated you to become an actor in the first place?
I enjoyed it briefly as a little child. It was just something that was fun. And it just has also helped me through life with some of the challenges in my life. I've been a carer since a young age, and I started blocking emotion because it was associated with the things that were going wrong. And then with acting, I had a period where I wasn't functioning particularly well, and acting got me back out of that. Acting allowed me to connect because I'd realized I disconnected emotionally, and that meant that I could really explore everything that I'd been trying to push away and blocking. And I could do so in a safe space with other people and in a way that was just marvelous.
So how did you then first come to perform Shakespeare?
I enjoyed working on it. Before I even went to drama school, I went as a mature student. And I knew that I really enjoyed the words and what Shakespeare gives you in the text to work with. Yeah, so I was doing some acting in my first degree. It was university. It wasn't part of the degree. I just got involved with the Leith Theatre. And then there were wonderful things in Edinburgh in August with the festivals. There was a time when I think it was actually the official international festival rather than the Fringe, but people from the Royal Shakespeare Company and people like Timothy West, Prunella Scales, John Barton, Peter Hall, they were actually giving workshops that you could go to and you could hear them speak or actually do a workshop. And that I'd already found, John Barton and playing Shakespeare. And I just thought to actually see them, it just brings me alive and gives me something to really sink my teeth into. I think of Shakespeare as a feast. And then I think it was either Juliet or Viola that I played first, even though I was in my 29th, I was 29 years old in my 30th year when I played Juliet. And was amazed that people who had gone, were suddenly, she got the energy of a teenager. Wow. And I was like, yes, I accomplished that. And I also found out, of course, that, this thing where you think characters are a certain way, especially if you've come across them in school. And then when you actually get to work with them, you're like, hang on a minute. I'd found Romeo and Juliet a bit namby-pamby, this romance. They don't even manage to make it work. And, and then I played Juliet and went, this girl knows exactly what she wants. I mean, she is so strong. It's like, oh my goodness, you're amazing. I love you. You love me. So do we get married tomorrow? And that's the night that you've met. Arrange it tomorrow with my nurse. We'll also get it sorted. And, just that drive's amazing.
It is amazing. You had the same experience I had at drama school. I was assigned Juliet and I would have been in my probably mid-20s. So I remember at the time I rolled my eyes and my Shakespeare teacher said, "And what is that?" And I went, "Oh, she's so weak." And he went, "Oh, you're definitely playing Juliet now. Like, you're not getting out of this." And it was exactly the same realization, the power of actually playing the role and saying the words and obviously doing the homework and all that stuff. Suddenly she's a revelation when you're in the midst of being her. It's quite extraordinary.
And that the speech as well, when she's having to take what could be poison, the draft to make her sleep. I mean, that is just an incredible speech. I use to this day. I use it in my own show as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. She is one of Shakespeare's strong women. Although, as you said, many people don't see her like that. But, oh, my goodness, she's the driving force of the entire play. None of it would have been happening without her. So,
Romeo, I think, is a rather difficult role to play because he doesn't have that.
No. It's interesting, isn't it? He's more reactionary than necessarily the protagonist of making things move forward. Yeah, Juliet definitely takes that role, which, gotta love. I love it. But again, as you said, the magic of actually playing it is when you discover that kind of stuff, which is very exciting. Well, along the same lines of what we've just been talking about, I mean, what do you think is the most important aspect or skill required to successfully perform Shakespeare?
Embodying, because that means bringing it all together, that brain, guts, heart, everything, and being able to, for your whole physical being to be connected to what is going on, because it's huge stuff. And it's stuff that is still around us today, but it is in dramatic form and it is huge. And every part of you needs to connect with it and convey it.
Yeah. So it's very much about being very open to exploring, discovering, embodying. Yeah. I think I find it interesting, and it's a conversation that I've had with some of the other ensemble members from Shakespeare Republic and related shows is again, it actually comes back to what we were just talking about with Juliet. the danger with Shakespeare is coming to those roles with a preconceived idea of what they are.
Oh,
and that can be good or bad too. You can think they're a great role or not so great a role. Doesn't matter. It's coming with a judgment, and you really have to leave that at the door and be open to discovering what that character is in your hands rather than what others have done as well. So yeah, that openness and that willingness to also get it wrong, inverted commas, that idea of there's a certain way of doing it. Well, sure, there is certain techniques, but as far as playing it, no. No, it's
you got to do all the work, but the playing itself, being open is amazing. And the other word that I was thinking of when I was mentioning about embody is curiosity. Because curiosity means you'll be open, it means you'll be exploring, and that is just something as an actor. And it also means you're taking in stuff all the time, going, oh yeah, and then it'll be there for you when you need it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Having that conversation, which, as you know, as actors, we have these conversations all the time anyway, amongst colleagues when we're working generally. Because it's also a willingness to keep growing, I think, and keep learning and knowing that you don't know it all. You know enough to have got where you are to this point, but you don't know it all, and being open to what your fellow actors are giving you in a scene and what's going on with the director and that alchemy that is created in a rehearsal room, and being open to that process, because there'll be certain things that you haven't thought of but will get sparked, as you said, with the curiosity thing sparked in that moment.
And what you said as well as being willing to fail, it's not failing, it's having something not work out so that something else is triggered. And then something else, and the journey you're on to something that hopefully is really works is built on the stuff that didn't work. And it's built on you're exploring that and creating all the different layers that are then there adding texture when you're finally performing.
Yeah, it's not failing. It's called learning, people. That's what happens. You need to try stuff. And if it doesn't work, just go, oh, oops, okay, but what did we learn from that? And that will then open the door, as you say, to the next thing that actually will start bringing it more towards the grounded place it needs to be, more towards the authentic place it needs to be. Yeah, I'm absolutely. I mean, to many people, that's a very scary idea.
It's still scary, even though I love it and embrace it. And I tell myself I love challenges,
Right.
It keeps us on our toes. It's almost like, when something goes wrong and suddenly the whole atmosphere and everybody's pulling together, and it tends to lift a play when that happens as well.
It does. And as you say, there is actually no wrong. There is no wrong. And there is just a different way of doing things. And sometimes it will land and work, and sometimes it won't. And that comes down to the setting that the play is in. It comes down to what the directors where they're guiding you. It comes down to all sorts of things. But it's having the joy of just discovery of like, does this work? Let's see. Why not? Let's find out. That's creativity operating at one of its highest levels, which is the joy of doing this job.
And it is play. It is being back in that space where you just play and find out. And it's called a play,
Correct. As I always say, it's called a play for a reason. It's so absolutely. Well, continuing along that line of thinking about performing Shakespeare, what would be, and again, this is kind of labeling it, and I don't necessarily mean, when I say best, which I'm about to say, I don't necessarily mean best as in most successful or anything like that. I mean best as in the thing that the role or the performance that impacted you the most in a positive way. What's been your best experience performing Shakespeare, and what did that teach you?
Oh my goodness, these things change all the time.
Yeah, they do.
I was part of a Midsummer Night's Dream with 4 actresses, and just between the 4 of us, we had to go through everything. It was wonderfully modern. It was set with, music such as Lady Gaga. And we were a pop band. The Four Lovers were a band, and Oberon and was some kind of media mogul, and Titania as well. And, it was wonderful. And I was playing Oberon, Lysander, and Quince. Because there were only four of us, Quince also played things like The Wall and stuff like that. And one of the most joyous aspects of all of this was that I've been dancing since I was little, but I've always said I have no training in song. I am not particularly confident with song. If I can play with my voice, though, and this I really was able to make use of, where the audience don't know what notes are supposed to happen, then I can really have fun. And at the point where Lysander and Hermia are in the woods, they're lost and they're just going to lie down and sleep. And he wants to convince her that they can lie much closer than where she has put them. And given that we were supposed to be singers, I found with the wonderful words of his, cajoling and saying how it's, this is just how it should be. I was actually, because it's in verse as well, enjoying sort of singing it to her as if I was serenading my love. And that I've also done on an online performance with two gentlemen of Verona. I was playing Thurio, who is a suitor for one of the main ladies. And somehow I wound up doing the serenading again, officially this time in the play. He's a comedy character, really. And so I wound up doing this incredibly sort of posh chap who is singing to his lady and then puts in a bit of rap like that. Yeah. Oh, yo. And, moments like these, somehow Shakespeare's brilliant for that. People use it all the time when they do Shakespeare in so many different ways. And I've found great joy in playing the drama and in playing, these moments that are not necessarily written in the instructions, but that's how you get to play with them, because he does give you so much that is not constrained, but that it's like springboards for inspiration and joy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, following on from what you talked about, and I hadn't thought about this before, but you've played quite a few of Shakespeare's men in your time.
Yeah.
I mean, I have played men quite a bit too. So I'm actually interested, though, how you found doing that as a woman in these plays, playing these male parts. Is that something that you found has unlocked something additional in you and your work? And did you find it relatively easy to kind of slide into playing the opposite gender? Or how do you feel about playing the opposite gender?
Well, it's been a bit of a mix, because sometimes the role itself may have been written male, but it's then you take it on as a female, as I'm doing with Shylock at the moment. So yeah. I'm not playing male. So there is a slight thing when I'm actually thinking, okay, this is a male character. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, other than costume showing that, and I guess maybe avoiding little, all like this sort of thing, but which I sometimes avoid anyway.
Right.
The extra feminine stuff. I don't find that I approach it very differently. Some of that might be that, I was a tomboy when I was younger, and I guess there are some characteristics of me, including being able to play anger easily, that sometimes not all women can.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are probably there already for me. And the other thing is, with Shakespeare especially, it's the person, it's the thoughts and the feelings. And I happen to believe that most of the things people say is, that's men and that's women. There is so much conditioning. I would be really hard put to say that any of that is truly male or female. I think it's social conditioning. And Shakespeare, for all, is set in a time when male and female roles were really very designated. He makes each, they're human. And that's part of the joy of him.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think it's interesting. My first gig out of drama school was playing King Duncan And it was done in very much, as you described, very neutrally. There's a big story about that production. But anyway, the original director was removed and we brought in another director who actually knew what they were doing. And no names, no pactual. But the second director was saying, I don't want any of you walking around trying to be men. It was an all-female cast, and he was like, don't do that. So it is interesting, exactly. I was just curious because that's my take on it as well, is that all these characters can live within you, male, female, non-binary, whatever it's going to be, because they're just human. And my voice is already fairly low anyway. So as in the timbre is quite low. So I don't think I had to do much. I even had my hair out long. Like, I don't think we did anything because it was all done very much almost black box kind of Shakespeare. I think I had a cloak around my shoulders and a crown on my head, and that was about it. But it was really interesting that people who saw the show, because I wasn't revealed immediately, I had the court standing in front of me blocking me when I first started speaking. And then they parted. So they'd part and the audience would go, oh, because for some reason I hadn't done anything different, but they thought it was a young guy. And then they saw me and went, oh, that's a girl. What? I would have been late 20s. And I have people afterwards saying, well, how did you do that? And I said, I didn't. But I think I didn't do anything. I think it was also people's expectation that was being played into.
Yeah,
oh,
they feed into.
This is, a guy.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you say that. But again, of course, the beauty of Shakespeare as well, as you've just said, is that these roles that have been assigned a gender by him when writing, they can be flipped relatively easily in most cases to a different gender because, they're human. So that becomes quite fascinating to watch when that happens. And you mentioned playing Shylock as a woman. I love that. Oh, my goodness. Okay. I would want to talk about it more, but I know you're in rehearsal about to open for that, so we won't talk too much about it. And obviously this broadcast is probably going to go out after the show finishes, which is really annoying. But yes, if anyone's been watching our socials, we will have been talking about Danielle playing this role. You will hopefully have gone and seen it by the time you hear this. Okay, well, in that case, if we do the flip side, what would you say has been your most difficult experience performing Shakespeare, and what did you learn from that?
I think the one that just reminded me the most about the connection and emotion for Shakespeare was I was playing Lady Macbeth in something called I'm a Shakespearean Character, Get Me Out of Here. It was based on I'm a Celebrity. And it was brilliant. You had Lady Macbeth, Hamlet, Puck, and Prospero on Prospero's island, and he was keeping them there, and they kept trying to escape, and he catches them trying to escape again, and he goes, look, there is no place for you in the modern world, this is impossible, I am protecting you, blah blah, but they're insistent, and so he goes, right, I will just convey us all into a modern theatre, and you will get to speak your bit to the modern audience, and we'll see if anybody wants you, and they will vote for the one person that gets to go. And so the audience has participation, and you get to do a monologue, and then you put your argument for why you should be freed, and it would be a different one. It could be any of the three of them. So I was playing Lady Macbeth in that, and that's a role that I've longed for, worked for in workshops. It was wonderful to do. It was a wonderful director. We were touring in Italy and Scotland. And with the dream that I mentioned, actually, there were 3 tours back to back, Italy and then the 2 different ones in Scotland, about a week apart between all of them, incredibly exciting times, all of which started 1 week after the funeral of my father.
Oh, yeah.
And in Italy, working on Lady Macbeth, I was also holding back because the emotion that would easily come forward, of course, was grief. And I had no time to get that grief out, to process, none of that. And that just had that frustration of knowing that at a different time, I would be having a different experience. Everybody was wonderful. I had a lovely time despite all of that. But I just knew that my connection was not where I would have liked it to be, because you can't hold back on what's going on with Shakespeare. And so I had a bit of a a strain there. Wonderfully, I worked again with that company on other things, the same director. So, and you know, the audience is, sometimes you can sense that even your default is strong enough for the audiences to connect and to enjoy, which is great. And so I was learning both of those things there.
Yeah. Have you played Lady M?
I actually, of course, I use her in my own show. All my favourites go out in that. Also, I do introduce Gruach, the real Lady Macbeth, as well.
Who we love.
Yes, and you, of course, have connections.
Who got a raw deal, again, another one that got a raw deal from Shakespeare when he wrote that play.
Yeah. It's not quite the history.
No, hence why I believe it is not listed as one of the history plays for that exact reason. He knew it was not history, definitely not written to celebrate history. I take great pleasure in telling my students the real story of Macca's and Lady M, and I have stood at Macca's graveside, at what they think is his graveside on the Isle of Iona, and apologised on behalf of every theatre company and actor that's ever done the show.
Thank you for doing that for us.
The guilt, my theory is that's why the show's cursed. It's everything to do with the fact that it's not the true story. And Macca's ain't happy about that. That's what I think is really going on with the curse. Following on, I guess, from all of this too, is why do you think Shakespeare endures and continues to be performed so widely?
Well, this thing about being human, you know, it's human beings in really interesting circumstances and able to express what they think and feel. You know, a lot of time, especially, you know, in our lifetimes, we are encouraged to hold back, to, you know, even physically as actors, especially, I mean, in UK, we're kind of sometimes known as talking heads. There are other countries more known for being fully in their body, but this requires all of yourself, so it's brilliant for actors. And then I think people watching or people wanting to direct and to design, they see as well, it uses all of us and it expresses all of us. And it does so with words that do the work as well. It's not just the ideas, it's not just the thoughts and the situations, the words themselves. I mean, I was using this even before I was ever cast as Shylock, but the difference between, it's just a couple of lines, but the difference between cutthroat dog and I would be friends with you and have your love, from the friends, love, how, you know, it's there and it's physical, and sound is a physical thing. It works on us. So all of that is brought together. I think that's where the genius is. It's all of that together.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there an aspect of Shakespeare out there, or an attitude around Shakespeare that's out there that you don't agree with? And if so, what is that? And what's your point of view on that from your own experience and knowledge?
Oh, you know, I absolutely love Shakespeare. I'm passionate about it. I have this almost, I have to be not evangelical about it, in that I think, well, you know, if you don't like it, it's just because you haven't been able to, you know, connect with it, get to grips with it, do it, you know, have the experience properly yet. And, you know, let's be honest, that may not be true. There may well be people who, no matter what they experimented with, would still go, nah, Shakespeare's not for me. But the way in which it can be treated as literature rather than as plays, as performance, as something with which to work, I find that can be very difficult. I mean, there's a huge amount that can be there that is fascinating if you want a cerebral approach, an academic approach, you know, with the language, with what's going on. But it is alive when you work with it. And Shakespeare should be alive, you know, whether that's in live performance, recorded performance, it needs life. He creates so much life. You have to make sure you keep the life when you approach it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even, you know, it's brilliant to have all the academic notes in the plays. because it can give you so much to work with if you're the kind of actor that's great for. And you want to make sure, I don't care what your approach is, if you're playing a role, you need to know what you're saying, any role at all. And with Shakespeare, that can mean doing research. But I really find over and over again, I go back to the early publications when it comes to punctuation, because a lot of the editing seems to be about making sense of things in a grammatical way. A lot of that grammar comes from Victorian age, post-Shakespeare. And when I first heard people talking about, go back to the original punctuation, I thought, we must be, really purists or something. But when you look at it, when you use it, it actually flows so much better as a person saying it and trying to convey what's there. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this is what's interesting too about things like the original pronunciation studies that are going on that Ben Crystal and his father, David Crystal, began and still continue to work with. Ben, definitely. Is this, it is, understanding it as Shakespeare wrote it, not necessarily how editors then edited in the years since. And I know there are some people who are doing original practice, and I'm like, whoa, that is terrifying as an actor.
Some of the readings that I do, we have sections like that as well. And it's wonderful because, the art of listening is one of the major skills in acting. And when you don't, even when you're doing a reading, you don't have it in front of you what other people are saying. And you're just listening out for these few words that are your trigger. You are just you have to be on your toes. You have to be alive and engaged.
Exactly, which is excellent practice. For anyone who's not done it. But this is the thing, and I think the punctuation aspect of Shakespeare's texts, and those first folio texts in particular that were published not long after he passed, they have come from the way the actors were speaking in many cases. Because as we know, there were people generally noting things down in the audience and that sort of thing, as copyright did not exist back then. So people were busily stealing the scripts by writing them down and taking them off to the nearest publisher.
And I think with the first folio as well, with the two actors and co-owners, I think, within the company, certainly one of them, I think probably both of them were, they were also, I believe, probably collecting the prompt scripts. So that's where you do have, pretty much what Shakespeare would have written. So where that's available as well. So it's much closer to where it all started.
Right. And it is interesting, back to your point, that scholarship is obviously important, and I'm never, ever going to diss scholarship because I think it's a very important tool in understanding not just Shakespeare, but much of literature, science, everything else. We need it. But there is that danger when only coming from the academic scholarship perspective that you start to lose the meaning, the real meaning of what's being put in those plays, because, and that's how we got the issue with in the Victorian era, as you say, where they just started going, that doesn't make grammatical sense. I'm putting a semicolon right there. What? And it's not ever meant to have been there. But
yeah, and I think what I'm sad about, because I absolutely love, literary analysis and understanding and being able to go to these things and go, aha, that's where it comes from, and that makes so much sense. I love etymology as well for words, of seeing where they come from. But it's when that literary approach affects school. And that means that suddenly we're in the UK and in Scotland, where there's more choice about whether you do Shakespeare or not, they'll be doing it in English class, where you're supposed to have a literary approach, but not doing it if they've got any acting or drama classes. Not so much.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad.
Yeah, and it is problematic. I think that's partly why Shakespeare Republic was created, why I created it, was because nearly everyone, if not everyone, especially in the English-speaking world, approach or introduction to Shakespeare is usually through English class, and usually around about sort of 14 years old, maybe 15, and you're usually handed Romeo and Juliet, and you're usually, well, depends on your teacher, but the closest you might get to performance is stand up and read this out loud. Cold.
When you haven't a clue, and you're also kind of in front of your peers who,
It's horrible. It's horrendous. Apparently now they are at least playing them something from the plays, from whichever theatre company or film or whatever. Baz Luhrmann, I'm quite sure, is probably on constant play rotation in high school for Romeo and Juliet, for his Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, it's not quite the same as having it on the drama curriculum and allowing them, again, we were talking about before, to explore, to play, to just see what it sounds like coming out of their mouth without any rules around how it's supposed to be done. Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's actually, that's where unfortunately it falls down. Don't make the kids read it. Make them just do it and play with it. It's actually...
have a duel, and then you can throw a few wonderful insults at each other. And you don't even have to be in your teens to do that. You can be way younger and just enjoying it before there's anything in your head about, oh, this is hard.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And look, some teachers are brilliant and they will do that. And you guys, if you're listening, you're worth your weight in gold. Thank you. Because
I am waving my hands in that, universal way.
Right.
Applaud.
Right. Because that's exactly the approach that is going to get young people past that hurdle of, oh, it's Shakespeare, that's hard. It becomes Shakespeare with the swords. That's awesome. Right? Because kids will always love swords. If you could ask Shakespeare one question, what would it be?
Oh, my question would be, please, Mr. Shakespeare, please would you work with me and write for me?
Oh, that's amazing. He'd say yes, Danielle. He'd say yes.
Oh.
He'd be a fool not to. So he'd say yes.
Thank you.
That's okay. That's hilarious. And that's a good question. It's a really good question.
It's not quite the usual question, of a dinner guest or whatever, but I'm afraid that is what came to me first.
No, that's okay. I completely understand the logic behind asking that question. I fully support it. I think absolutely. Why wouldn't you if you had that opportunity? Yep, that makes sense. Absolutely.
And that would mean more work for all of us to enjoy.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's not just selfish.
No, it's not. How are you on I know that you like the history aspect and you're very good at doing your homework. I know this from our time working together. So is there any aspect of the Elizabethan era that kind of fascinates you, and why?
Something I keep coming back to. I mean, there's lots of is just, I think it's because of my own ideas on makeup. And that is that, people were often to hide pox marks and things like that. People were putting on this pale makeup with lead and mercury and things like that. I mean, poisonous stuff in order to look great or to hide not looking great. And we kind of still do it. Maybe not the same substances, but I do think it's something that is still around us today, the use of makeup, what's in it, and also, the use of it. Makeup is designed to change the way you look, which is brilliant for defining our features for stage, making us still look human for camera, dress up, playing something, being artistic, absolutely wonderful. But when it's to enhance the way you look and when it's used in a regular basis, there must be a part of my brain, I would just go, there'd be a part of it in there that is learning that the way I actually am isn't good enough. And I think that is a part of what makeup does, and the ideas of how to apply it and what to look like so you look like a certain thing, which is becoming more thing-like all the time and less human. And especially, I mean, even before AI, but now that's adding. And the ideas of what people feel they should look like, or the expectations, if you're working, then of course you're professional only if you put makeup on, and, in normal jobs, all of that, where of course the focus has been more on females as well. So these are thoughts that I have often, and that Elizabethan time when Elizabeth herself, and, she's made to look all so magnificent, but when the rot and the poison that is going underneath it, Yeah, I find that fascinating. And I find it fascinating that we still do similar things, that people use chemicals that are bad for us to either darken your color, because in the West we think that's healthy, or to bleach your skin, because there are other kind of races with darker skin that, just as gorgeous and trying to be paler. It just seems, yeah. So there you go. Bit political, but that's what came to my mind.
No, absolutely. I think, yes, I think the height of, in the Western world, of makeup and beauty and that kind of thing was definitely, when it comes to endangering your life, it definitely is the Elizabethan period. I mean, Elizabeth was basically almost half mad by the time she passed because of the poisoning from mercury and lead. It doesn't take away from the fact that she was an extraordinary queen and she's one of my favorite historical figures. But yeah, that need to, I think, in my take on it is that it also provides a very good mask to not let the world in or see it. And I think in her case, it was definitely used as a mask to try and give forth an image of perfection
and power. And, it's being an icon and hiding any vulnerability.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. It's that and other things. We're afraid to let people in or to let out who we are. And that is something that society should be working on. And we as individuals, I try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a big conditioning thing that's run for centuries, particularly for women, to break.
Yeah.
What I find interesting, though, about the Elizabethan period when it comes to the beauty standard thing is that the guys were dressed up to the nines and made up almost as much as the women. It was everyone was doing it.
I mean, apart from the poisonous aspect, I love that. I don't know if it's the same by yourself, but nowadays I'm noticing so many wonderful heads of hair, long hair on guys again. And I'm just thinking, this is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
In some respects, with appearance, with what we wear, women now have way more freedom than men. Skirts, dresses, trousers, whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
And I want that for guys too.
Yeah, right. The fact that a guy wears a dress on a red carpet it still makes headlines, and you go, it looks good on him. Leave him alone.
All sorts of cultures have these long gowns as well, but they're not called dresses. It's just.
I'm sorry.
And of course, Scotland.
Go up to a Scot and tell him he's wearing a dress and see how far that gets you. Because, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Whole other conversation. But yes. What is, and I think we've probably touched on quite a bit of this already, but what's your philosophy on acting and the act of creating in general? And how do you see the role of creatives in society?
We're creating every day. Everybody is, We're often creating our own stories in our heads, even just about what we're doing or what we want to be doing. I think creatives are the people who express out there, put out there what's going on inside. And that is incredibly important because we have it going on, because these explorations are there, and because every single one of us is unique. The only way that every person alive now, every person that's ever existed can be unique is because, as well as all the things that make us human, every single aspect of that has variation and difference. And so to be able to express who you are and what you want to be putting out there, and to have other people express what they are as well, to have that meeting, whether you're an audience, performing, creating in any way at all, it connects us, and it connects us in a way that shows the differences can be embraced and loved as much as the similarities. And if that isn't about life and connecting and being human, I don't know what is. Oh, I got emotional.
So did I. So true and so well put. Yeah.
And just to bring that back to Shakespeare, any view you have, any politics you have, you'll find a way to express it through Shakespeare, because he is not writing one-sided. He is encompassing the lot. And that's why we still use so much. It's not just because he coined the great words, it's because he expressed so much of all of this. That's why we still use it. And why people know phrases that they don't even know are Shakespeare.
So brilliantly true, yes. And so well put, Danielle. I love you. You're so eloquent and so connected to it. Well, I'm going to give you the quick fire Shakespeare question round. Ooh. So let's start. Favorite Shakespeare character?
Margaret, from 4 different plays.
Correct, and good choice. Favorite Shakespeare play?
It's still Macbeth. It's still Macbeth, I think.
Favorite Shakespeare performance that you've seen?
Live, Harriet Walter with the RSC in the Swan Theatre playing Lady Macbeth. And I have to say why. She brought the full embodiment we've been talking about to the words, filling that space with absolute psychological realism that anybody wanting the most natural film performance could believe. But she filled that theatre with both those things together. Amazing.
Brilliant. Favorite Shakespeare character you've played?
I really don't know. Right now, I guess it's Shylock.
Great.
Yeah.
And that's going to change, as many have said with this question, depending where you're at the time. So for now, Shylock. We will totally go with that. Finally, describe Shakespeare in 3 words.
Brain, gut, and heart. That's what he is for me.
Excellent answer.
I've loved what you do. I still love it. And with all your projects, is it that you start with certain characters and speeches? Do they come first? Whether it is or not, I'd also love to know if that or anything else has shifted over these brilliant 10 years of your projects.
Oh, bless you, darling. That's an interesting question. How do I answer that? Okay, so when we started at the very beginning, funnily enough, in fact, to be honest, it's still kind of the same now, particularly for any of the projects that deal predominantly with monologues. It does actually tend to come down to the actors first that are cast. And I guess sometimes in tandem with a piece that I think that actor would be really interesting performing. But as you know, I tend to also say to actors, what would you like to do?
Yeah.
Because, it needs to be collaborative. I have been known occasionally to steer an actor in a certain direction because I'm pretty sure that's what they should be doing. But, yeah, it's interesting. It often comes from the actors, and I'll cast an actor and I will have in my head, when I start a project, I always have in my head a selection of texts that I would really like to explore and play with. Sometimes with Shakespeare Republic particularly, I would decide, okay, here are all the texts, and then I'm going to pull all these actors in, and then I'm going to have that conversation with them and say, let me know what you'd like to do. Because often with the actors, sometimes I'll get someone saying, I definitely want to play this role doing this speech, and people are very clear. But then others, particularly those who have not done Shakespeare before, and there are a fair amount in the series that haven't, will kind of go, I don't know, what would you like me to do? And that's when I can pull out the texts that I want to work with. But they've always got to be matched in a way that supports and celebrates the actor. So I'm never going to try and shoehorn an actor into a part. It's always got to be something I see in that person. They may not see it in themselves, but something I see in that person that tells me they would be a really good fit for this character in Shakespeare's canon. I've had pushback every now and again. Why would I do that? I don't want to do that. And I'll have this conversation about, well, you don't have to do that, but this is why I think you'd be good doing it. So, it's a combination of my ensemble and the pieces. when you get to something like Walking Shadows, which is working with the student body that I was teaching, I always assign the monologues to those guys because I'm teaching them. So I will look at their strengths again, because I will always set them up to succeed.
Yeah.
I do that with all my actors. I will always set people up to succeed because you just will, because why would you do it any other way? It doesn't make any sense to me. But definitely they will get assigned a monologue. And again, I'll sometimes get pushback on that too, because it as you have said and we've talked about, Shakespeare can be quite confronting because you really do need to bring all of yourself. Yeah. And when you've got a bunch of kids going through drama school who are in flux as to who they are and, where they fit in the world because they've just done, I usually would get them at the end of their training as well. So they're all a little kind of at sea, and I get the odd bit of pushback. I can honestly say, hand on heart, thankfully, that pretty much, actually, no, there's been no case, luckily, of one of those students not performing the piece that I gave them. they all end up doing it. But I will, look, I could happily explore all different Shakespeare pieces. I have my wish list of things that I still haven't yet had a chance to play with, but I also trust that they'll be pulled out of the drawer and used when the right actor comes along. And I mean, goodness, there's so much in his canon of work to play with. I don't know that we'd ever really truly be finished with the whole thing. But, there's been fun things like the character of Rumour, which is from one of the Henry IV plays, who is in the current season of Walking Shadows Volume 3, which is the student version of Shakespeare Republic. And I came across, I knew of the speech, hadn't looked at it in years, pulled it up again and went, oh my goodness, this is talking about fake news. This is insane that he wrote this over 400 years ago. And it's really talking about social media, essentially. So, of course, it got included. And the actress concerned, bless her, was like, what are you doing to me? But embraced it and ran with it. And, oh, my goodness, the depths that kid found. That was Millie Falconer who played that. She was amazing. So, yeah. So that's also what can happen to a piece sometimes. We'll get kind of, I'll try and find who it'll fit, because I just think it's really relevant to the now when we're making the project. But generally it's a combination of actor and piece.
Got you. Brilliant. And you're still working with that. And it's well, I'm not surprised it stands you in very good stead, indeed. And speaking about working with you, do you know that when we filmed the monologue from Henry IV Part 2 that I did, it was 2020, we're now in 2025, the very day we recorded. I found out last night when I looked at my diary.
That's hilarious. So we are recording this 5 years to the day after we worked together. That's hilarious.
And I want to read this entry, right? I have a big smiley face. Sal, so lovely. I didn't worry, even when had trouble uploading vids to PC from phone. Thank you, Sally. Big smiley face. And then I go on to mention how we talked and talked and talked for about 2 hours afterwards.
We did.
It's just such a wonderful experience because you do bring all of this, and when I was invited to do with this, Musing on the Bawd, my initial response was so full-bodied, actually. And it was just a joy thing. And I think because even without my having a conscious memory of what's written in that diary, that is what I experienced working with you. And that's what came flooding back with that invitation. I was just on there immediately like, yes, get to talk to Sal.
Oh, Danielle, it's always such a joy to hang out with you, but that's so lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, we were working together, and obviously also on The Show Must Go Online, we're part of that community as well. And that was, it's almost like that was such a, oh my gosh, such an intense period of time in world history as well as our personal lives. But there are bonds, I think, that got forged that will just stand the test of time now because we got each other through all of that madness and we got to create, and that was what was also so brilliant, I think. So yes, I will always, think of, I was so delighted when you said, yes, I'm there, I'm doing it and I'm booking. It's like, yes.
that is what brought Shakespeare back really hugely into my life. Even though I'd already been working with it and created, inVocation, a Shakespearean horror, some of that was challenging for me, doing everything myself, bar the tech, actually, which is not a good idea. And then having Shakespeare be such an incredible joy during lockdown, it made me go, yeah, this is my thing, I'm just going to embrace it fully.
I'm so pleased because it should be your thing. So finally, now obviously, as I said, we're not sure if this is going to go out before the end last week of the show or just after, but is there anything coming up you can talk about? And if so, what's the gig?
Well, funnily enough, yeah, at the Edinburgh Fringe, the largest arts festival in the world, August 1st to 23rd, I will be playing Shylock in a play called, not The Merchant of Venice, that is based on, but A Pound of Flesh. This is mostly Shakespeare, but the pivotal point in which Portia, who's one of the major characters, saves the day for the Merchant of Venice and the courtroom. In this play, Portia never makes it to the courtroom. So Shylock might get that pound of flesh. Shylock is not the focus, but of course, incredibly important within it. It's mostly following the young lead, Bassanio, and his relationship with Portia, his relationship with the merchant Antonio. And then there is also this relationship between Antonio and Shylock. What is going on there? And that is explored with new writing written in the style of Shakespeare. So it's bringing it together.
Which is not easy to do, can I just say?
It isn't. One of the reasons I style myself a consultant, as well as helping people to, when they want to know something about shows before seeing them or exploring them, is also because I help people like this playwright just not changing what he wrote. Martin Foreman, by the way, who's done a brilliant job, but just saying, this aspect of the way in which Shakespeare wrote, where your really important word is maybe at the end of a verse line, where your second strong beat in a line is a kind of springboard for that line and what's coming next. All these little technical aspects that can be so useful to a writer, I can bring from my understanding of acting Shakespeare.
Absolutely.
So I have helped along the way with this original script that was full length, and now we have a 50-minute piece for the Fringe, which is Martin's work. Absolutely.
That is so cool. That is great. Yeah, I mean, we did Walking Shadows Volume 3 is out right now, and it's set in as I've mentioned, set in a dystopian future, which is TV channels run by AI. And so I actually wrote the commercials that appear in Shakespearean language, but they were deliberately bad, which was a great excuse for me not to get it technically right, because AI is supposed to have written it. So,
I mean, you wrote as well the introductions in Shakespeare Republic, the season I was in, the Lockdown Chronicles, and all of that. And you showed that you can do it properly. It's like a singer being able to sing really badly is because they know how brilliantly to actually do it. So, that sounds fantastic. And do you know what? I was looking for examples for when I was a speaker about acting Shakespeare, and I'd written it all up. And then I thought, let's see. It was my early checking of what AI can do. And I was looking for some examples to do with the strong word at the end of the line that I mentioned, at the end of the verse line, it being a really pivotal sort of hook for the audience so they really understand what's going on. And it kept giving me prose. And even when I said that's prose, it went, oh yes, sorry, my mistake. And then later would do the same again. And it got something empirically wrong with Shakespeare. How do you do that with the language? It was amazing. It decided that Prospero said something at the end of a verse line. I've played Prospero. I was shocked that this had not registered with me. I decided I'd better go and look this up again. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up from the first folio through to the modern editions. And you know what? That word does not occur at the end of the line. It is a springboard, second strong beat word. So where AI got that from, I do not know. Maybe one of those hallucinations.
Well, Possible. And also it's a machine, so it's not going to hopefully analyze text quite the way a human would, because it can't say it out loud, so it doesn't know. So, yeah, it's definitely AI. AI is a whole other conversation. But, yeah, AI gets things wrong a lot, and more so as time goes on. So anyone listening, if you're relying on AI, please don't rely on AI. Try a library, is all I'm going to say.
It's a tool, all tools. It's about how we use them. So use them with understanding and curiosity.
Correct.
So that you can figure out and find the bits that really work for you and the bits that totally don't.
Correct. And understand that actually it's not going to always get it right, even though it is a machine. It's not going to get it right every single time. Yeah, I find that hilarious. Oh, yeah. Actually, I had a friend of mine who emailed me to say, I was trying to get AI to write me a sonnet and it sucked every single time. It just doesn't get it. So that whole idea of put a bunch of monkeys in a room with keyboards and eventually you'll get Hamlet is absolutely no. There's no basis of truth in that idea at all. It will not happen. Sorry, peeps.
Gives me the slightest glimpse of what infinity really means.
Yeah, exactly. So finally, Danielle, where can people find you? Speaking of online and machines, where can people find you out there in the wide world to get more information about what you're up to?
DanielleFarrow.com will signpost the socials and things like that. So I am on quite a few of the social medias. It tends to be Danielle Farrow, actress, that finds me. And the website is new. I've had to redo my website. I really must add some show reels. So by the time this goes out, people can come check DanielleFarrow.com. Has she added her show reels yet?
It's the constant thing, isn't it? Oh my goodness, the upkeep. But yes, DanielleFarrow.com. That's where you will find out more information about everything that Danielle does as actor and numerous other things specifically also related to Shakespeare. It's been an absolute pleasure, Danielle. Thank you so much for spending the time chatting with me. It's been so much fun, as always. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to throw into the mix about Shakespeare that I haven't covered?
I just think that I do love, the fact this show I'm in and what you do, this inspiration that he continues to give to people is, they say, talk about on the shoulders of giants. And when you have a giant like that, you can really stand tall.
I love your turn of phrase, darling. I love it. I mean, honestly, it's brilliant. These are things that should be put on T-shirts. Like, I would wear them. No, that's brilliant. Well, Danielle Farrow, thank you so much for being part of Musing on the Bawd. It has been a joy and a pleasure and so lovely to see your face again and have this chat. Thank you.
And you, Sally McLean. It's wonderful to have this time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I've been your host, Sally McLean, and this has been Musing on the Bawd. You can read more about our work, all our guests, and this podcast at our official website, musingonthebawd.com. If you want to see the video version of this podcast, head to our Patreon. Links are on the site. This podcast was made possible via a small events grant from the British Shakespeare Association. Produced by Incognita Enterprises, edited and presented by Sally McLean. With thanks to all of our guests and our Patreon patrons for continuing to support our work. Until next time, I wish you health, wealth, and happiness. See you anon.